I had a little bit of a pickle today because believe it or not, I want some of that global warming in my country. It's snowing to the point where the roads are blocked. I mean, the entire winter was barely any snow, and now we're talking about snow that reaches my titty. Like it's literally all the way up here. If I go out of my house, like there's snow everywhere, so the roads are blocked. And there were power outages. Apparently, a tree fell over the electrical lines, so the power was cut. And because of that, I was a little bit late with editing my videos. So I had to just rush it, and I just put my video on my main channel right now. And because of that, it got a little bit over the live stream by a couple of minutes. So this is why I'm late. Also, we have this very annoying thing in Romania. It's called Romanian Alert. And your phone literally goes like bang, bang. I don't know how to disable it, but it's illegal to have a phone that doesn't have the function. So like you can only have smartphones, which for some reason the government can also listen in. But okay, that's neither here nor there. If you hear my phone go bang bang, it's a Romanian alert. And it's telling me that it's snowy outside and I should stay indoors. And honestly, I don't know why the fuck it does that, because it's so painfully obvious. I mean, if the snow is literally reaching my titties, there is absolutely no reason to go out. And I don't understand, like, the type of people that do venture outside on this weather. Right? Like, you see on television, like, entire cars stuck in the snow. And I'm like, what were you doing out? Why were you out? It's not like they're commuting, It's just weird. You have a similar TV function. It's not a TV function. It's a phone function, and it's so annoying when it buzzes during the night, like you're asleep or early in the morning, and it's so goddamn. It tells you like things that are painfully obvious. Stormy weather, stay inside. Very high temperatures, don't go out. There's a powerful blizzard. I'm like wondering, like, how did my grandmother manage to survive without Romanian alert? Like, she didn't have a phone, like, she would look out the window. Oh my god, what magic is that, right? Like, what sorcery? So the old lady would look out the window, she would see that the trees are bending over, and there's water falling from the sky, and they're like, okay, maybe I should go outside. Oh, look, lightning. Okay, maybe I should unplug my television. I don't understand. It's like, it's such a useless feature, and I'm pretty sure you can disable it somehow, but I generally don't know how. Like, the only one thing that is good is like when it tells you, hey, by the way, there's a fire at a warehouse and there's like some chemical shit in the air, don't go into that area. Like I actually had that. American Outlier, hope your day was good. Thanks for the compliments on the images I sent. They were like really good images. By the way, I realized unfortunately I can't get it from you. So for those of you who don't know, American Outlier is planning some really cool merchandise. If he puts it on Twitter, I will retweet it. I didn't have time today because I had power outages, so I didn't look. But he's got like some Ushikushi anime dolls. Unfortunately, I can't receive it because when I moved, there is no mailbox. And the Romanian press is, the Romanian mail is beyond incompetent. Like last time I got a package from someone, it was a comic book artist. Like I helped him before Comicsgate was a thing. He wanted to thank me by giving me like his first issue comic. It was called Patriotica. Don't know what happened to the guy, but unfortunately I never did receive his stuff because I get like this message from the Romanian mail. It's like you have 10 days to pick it up. So I go at the postal office literally when I received that, and it tells me, oh, well, it was here like 10 days ago, like you didn't come in time. I swear to God, they probably nicked it. I do not understand how it is possible. Like, I literally just got that note into my mailbox. So since that day, yeah, I just don't trust the Romanian mail, and this is why I don't get mail from my subscribers, because there's like literally no point. You can't disable. Of course I can't. It's etched in blood. Active shooter in Trump Tower. Some women with hostages. Oh my fucking god. Let me guess, an assault rifle. But I don't know. I'm not an ambulance chaser. I guess we're going to hear about it tomorrow. Like usually the details right after the thing are very murky. Things change. So it's best to read the news after like 1 or 2 days. Why am I losing power? Because a tree fell on the power cables. Apparently, when that happens, the power cables snap. and everyone that was connected to the grid goes dark. You know, people are like, oh my god, you live in Romania. Yeah, I live in a place where there's blizzard. What can I do? Like the trees can handle so much. Is it a legacy woman or a woman plus? I don't know. I'm actually, you know what, fuck it. Let's see what's happening. So, Trump Tower shooting. SWAT officers respond to rifle-wielding woman at Trump Tower. This is the second time a woman... Like this is rare, isn't it? Like, usually it's men doing it. I'm not being stereotypical or anything. It's just, like, uncharacteristic. Anyway. Why don't they say it's like the first ever female that goes with a rifle at the Trump Tower? Like, usually they do that in movie. Read like, first ever black female superhero, or first ever black female villain in Marvel, blah, blah, blah. They are saying this about Trump. First ever president. First ever... It's like, why don't they say, like, most... the president where he had, like, the most innocent found impeachment. Anyway. SWAT officers responded to the Trump International Hotel Tower after an armed woman walked in the downtown skyscraper during an apparent domestic-related incident. Okay, so it's got nothing to do with Trump. The woman was brandishing a rifle when she entered the building. According to law enforcement sources, the incident was thought to be domestic in nature and wasn't linked to terrorism. Oh, that's good. Police radio traffic show officers were called on an apartment on the 27th floor where the woman was saying she was tired of being abused by her husband. Understandable. A Chicago police spokesperson said that there was no threat to the public, but wouldn't provide additional... Okay. So what shooting? Why are people calling it a shooting then? Huh? Seems like a crazy person. Oh, one hospitalized. Alright, let's see. They call it an incident. So the Chicago police SWAT officers took one person to the hospital after the domestic incident. The large police presence outside drew attention from workers. At this time, we believe that this is an isolated incident and there is no threat to the public. Police later said that the incident was resolved with no injuries. And one person was taken to the for evaluation. Okay. Naruhodo. But it's not news. It's like... I guess like it's only news because it happened at the Trump Tower, right? Like if it happened somewhere else... I mean, I'm pretty sure like this happens every day in America. Like you have 350 million people, right? Like some crazy person doing some crazy shit. I don't think like that's out of the ordinary. But I guess it's like, well, it's the Trump Tower, so it's the... Low Effort Clips made a very wholesome video about Pippa. Do check it out if you're in the mood. I probably will, Jacob Andrew. I probably will. If I have time, though, because I still need to make 2 more videos on my lack of entertainment channel. Apparently, the CEO of Disney is doubling down on wokeness. And there was another video. They're making another Prison Break season as well. We're going to see Prison Break, the Geriatrics edition. They're casting the same actors. It's like, okay, I get it, but like, you do realize they have white hair now. It makes me feel old. How did she get a rifle in Chicago? Guns are illegal there. That is a good question. That is a very good question. Like, how did she break the law? I don't understand, like, how people are getting guns in schools either. It's like, there is a sign which says no guns allowed. I mean, it's perfect. You're not allowed to shoot at other people. They're not following trigger discipline. Like, how do they do it? New York is very strict on guns. The fact that she had a rifle is kind of big. You know, like, that's also a good question. Like, in Romania, for example, we have one of the most strictest gun laws in Europe. Actually, probably in the world. I think, like, Japan may have, like, a little bit more strict gun laws than we do. But, obviously, criminals still have guns, right? Like, in Romania, if you tell someone you have a gun, they're going to connect you, like, mentally with the people from the mafia, thugs. Like, that's the mental association. And the ones that do have guns, they have handguns. Why? Because they're easy to conceal. Like, you can hide it. But an assault rifle, it's kind of, I don't know, like, where you can place it. I mean, this is why the police got spooked, right? Like, why people started calling the authorities. It's because when she entered, like, people could see what she's carrying. Look, I'm not an expert in guns, right? Like, I'm not an American or anything, but I genuinely, like, do not understand why people don't use handguns and they use rifles. Is it, like, because it has more bullets? Like, can any American, like, tell me? Because I just... Like, it's still a deadly weapon, right? Like, if you're in a building, then you have, like, a handgun, it's just as deadly, right? I mean, I think, like, rifles is to shoot at a distance. Or to shoot rapidly. But, like, shooting rapidly doesn't necessarily cause accuracy. Right? So, like, why is it that it's all the time? It's like, oh, well, rifle. My God, rifle. It's like, yeah, but, like, at least with the rifle, it's harder to conceal, right? Like, you can't really just hide it. A rifle have more stopping power, but does it fucking matter? Like if you're, you know, like, attacking people in a close space, like, does it really matter, the stopping power? Trump will likely get house arrest or fines. New York City would have to renovate the jail now, since he has lifetime Secret Service. That is actually a good question. Like, what does happen if the president of the United States, well, a former president of the United States, goes to prison? Like, do the Secret Service follow him? Like, will they stay in the prison? Because that is a very fucking good question. Chicago just elected a new mayor who is more left-wing than Beetlejuice. He is going to tax the shit out of the people in Chicago. Literally what I've been saying. Literally what I have been saying, chat. A lot of people, like, this is happening all the fucking time. And this is how I can make the predictions. Because, like, I don't have a crystal ball, right? Like, I don't have, like, a magical testicle in which I hover my hands over and then can predict them. No, like, I look at patterns. And you have, like, usually a person that everyone dislikes. Can be a CEO, can be a politician, doesn't matter. But it's like someone that everyone dislikes. And eventually that person steps down. For whatever reason. Like, maybe they're fired. Maybe they just want to quit. Maybe they retire. And everyone is happy. Everyone is cheering. But, like, usually the new person is worse. Like, the new person is actually worse than the first guy. So, this is what I said with the Chicago mayor. Like, you're going to see that the new politician is probably worse. And, you know, I was right. Long guns are far more accurate and more powerful. Yeah, but, like, we're talking about, like, in a building. Like, what is it? Like, 5 meters? 6 meters? 7 meters? Also, like, what about shotguns? Like, wouldn't they be more dangerous? I think, like, they would be far more dangerous. But anyway, right. Aren't shotguns, though, like, semi-full automatic? Like, if you have an automatic shotgun, right? You fire, and it's like... like, you press the button and it goes do, but, like, it fires. No, it's not. I'm trying to, you know, like, CNN told me about these semi-full automatic guns, and I'm trying to figure out how exactly would one work. And, like, the closest thing I came was a shotgun, but it's still not good. Secret Service stays with him. It's in Constitution. I know, and if he's in prison, like, what do they do? Like, do they have to change the rules of the prison? I do understand that they stay with him, right? So this is my question. Like, what are the legal implications if he actually goes to jail, right? And he has to get the Secret Service with him. Now, do they stay out of the jail? But, like, what if something happens to him within? What if he, you know, like, drops the soap in the shower? And the LGBT community in the prison doesn't appreciate. Like, what happens then? Things never get better. We should all just die. That's not true. Things do get better. But they get better slowly. And usually they get worse before they get better. Look, I created a controversy now. Apparently, handguns are better on close range. I mean, the way I see it, right? And I'm not an expert. I play video games. Like, that's my experience. But the way I see it is that if you want to shoot something at range and have accuracy, you use a rifle. But if it's like medium range to short range, then you use a handgun. They have to go in with him. Okay, here's another question. What if Trump starts shit in jail? Like, think about it, right? Like, he goes in the yard and starts shit with, like a verbal altercation. Like, that doesn't shove anyone. That he starts a verbal altercation. And people have to jump him, like the prisoner feels disrespected. Like, he sits in the wrong place at the lunch table or something in those lines. And like, people feel disrespected and want to jump him, but like, he's got the Secret Service next to him. Do the Secret Service carry guns in the prison? I think they do. What happens like if a guard actually attracts Trump? Like, my God, like the implications of this. Like, no one ever, can you imagine, like, no one actually thought that this is going to happen? Like, the people who wrote the Constitution didn't take this into account. What if he goes to solitary? Holy shit, like, man, there are so many questions that I would really want to see the answer to. Like, I just want him to spend, like, at least one day in jail so I can see how it plans out. Because you'd think this is easy, but it's not. Don't forget vehicles. Never forget Waukesha. What if Trump takes someone hostage? I think, like, if he takes someone hostage, so no, like, the way I think it happens, if you actually commit a crime, the Secret Service is not going to help you. Or they can actually stop you from committing the crime. See? This makes me laugh. Now I'm distracted. No, but like, I'm not trying to make you laugh. I'm actually asking legit questions. Like they want to put an ex-president in prison. But in the Constitution, it says that the Secret Service has to follow him everywhere, including prison. Now, that's not necessarily the problem, right? Because I'm pretty sure, like, the security guard, the Secret Service agent isn't going to actually have to like, serve the same sentence, right? So they're probably going to have shifts, because they're still, like, free citizens. Like, they go into prison, they stay 8 hours a day, and then, like, they go back home and someone else replaces them. That's not the question. That's not the issue. The issue is, like, what happens when he gets in trouble? Because, like, it's prison, right? So, like, he can, like, if he actually starts shit, right? Like, if he shoves a prisoner, for example. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, the Secret Service won't do anything, because, like, him shoving someone on the street, right? Like, that's illegal. But, like, he doesn't do anything illegal. He just gets in a verbal altercation. Like, he just starts mouthing off to another prisoner who feels disrespected. Or he sits at the wrong place at the dinner table. Or, like, you can have, like, prisoners that are literally just upset with his politics. He is going to be by himself. LOL, no population. Well, they can't do that. They can't do that either, right? Because, like, he has to have the Secret Service. He can't put him in isolation. You can't. And even then, like, why would he be by himself? Like, what if he doesn't want to be by himself? Because, like, the thing with, like, you can't just put prisoners by themselves, right? So there's a law regarding that, and there's procedure regarding that. So you only go by yourself if you're suicidal. But no, actually, even Epstein had a colleague, right? So you only go by yourself, I believe, if you are in a supermax. So you committed something very very problematic. If you request to be placed by yourself, so usually pedophiles, ex-cops, people who are afraid that if they go into general population, bad things will happen to them. Like, those people are placed into solitary, or people who misbehave. It's a prison within a prison. So if you start shit on the yard, they can give you isolation time. Now, isolation time is actually very bad. It does a lot to the human psyche. It's pretty much like torture. It's not physical, it's psychological. So you can't just, like, go like, oh, well, you're the former president and we're going to put you in isolation. It just doesn't work like that. No, they have to put him with general population. Unless he wants to be in isolation, of course. In reality, I don't think he's going to face any jail time, and probably, like, this has something to do with it. But if he does spend jail time, it's going to be very interesting. Or insanity or mental illness. I don't know what happens if you're insane or mentally ill. But I do think that, if you're a danger to yourself or others, like there are some strict conditions in which you get to be placed in isolation. This is why, like, when people were saying that Andrew Tate was in isolation, I pointed out it's like, no, the only way he can be in isolation is if he requested it. Right? Because, like, the law says strictly why you would be placed in isolation. So, yeah, it's like 134 years. Obviously, he's not going to get any of that. But it's, I mean, I would be surprised. You know, again, as I mentioned before, Alex Jones had to pay more money to the families than Germany has to pay to Poland for World War II reparations. I would like to point out that even up until this day, Germany has not paid the money it owes to Poland. I'm actually curious. Like, hold on, how much money does Germany owe to Poland? How much money does Germany own? And I don't know if it's adjusted for inflation. 1.5 trillion. Okay, so Germany owes Poland 1.5 trillion for World War II losses. How much money does Alex Jones own to the victims? I can't find what it is. I think it's like 1.5 trillion if I remember correctly. Oh. No. So, Germany owes to Poland, I believe, 1.3 trillion, and Alex Jones owns 1.5. And at this point, I'm thinking, like, dude, why not making, like, the sacrificial lamb? Just put the entire U.S. debt on him, right? And after he passes away, right? Because eventually every person has to get old. After he passes away, the U.S. debt goes with him. Have you considered he might be popular in prison? I guess it depends on the prison. Like in the United States, especially in California, yeah, and it depends, like, state prison or federal prison. In some prisons, you have very, very low colorblind racism. Let's put it like this. So like, you have the gangs, which are very color aware. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know. Like he has, like, what, Jewish people in the family? Like, I don't think he's going to be popular with the neo-Nazi groups, which most white gangs are in prisons. But maybe, you know, who the fuck knows? Like, it depends how the prison systems did under him. Right? Poland should collect that money from Germany. Well, it's not so simple. He shouldn't be charged anyway, but this is New York. It's an epidemic center of Trump derangement syndrome, so the jury is going to find him guilty regardless. Yeah, like, that's another thing. Like, that is a very interesting thing. So, in the United States, like, you have this system where you get, like, jury nullification, which is, like, even if you're guilty, right? So, like, there's video camera, there's footage, you confess, like, everything is 100% that you did it. There's no doubt about it. The jury can still find you innocent, right? And that's called jury nullification. And the reason for this is that if the jury considers that the law is unjust, then they can just choose to not persecute, right? So they can choose to find the person innocent. But the opposite is also true. So the opposite is also true. If you have a person that, you know, hasn't been proven beyond the shadow of a doubt, but the jury wants to find him guilty, they can. I'm pretty sure there must have been cases like that in the US. You know, maybe they don't like his face or whatever. Maybe the jury is vindictive. Maybe the jury is intimidated. Like, that can also happen. You know, it happened during the mafia years, right? So the jury was intimidated. All of these things can actually lead to a conviction. So, you know, this is why I said, like, I have been surprised before. Maybe we can be surprised again. Prisoners wouldn't be able to tax Trump in prison, but they would probably try to get favors off of him. I don't fucking know, man. I literally do not, like, this never happened before. And again, like, the only variable is the Secret Service, which has to be with him. even in the prison. So like, yes, like he would probably walk around the prison, and there would be like people dressed in Secret Service suits with a gun sitting next to him, because it's constitutional required. Like you can't separate him. Like it's illegal. So the only solution would be if he gets house arrest. I don't think like they can build a separate prison for him. I literally do not know what's going to happen. It is going to be a security problem. Man, like, can you imagine the Secret Service guy as well? Like you can be shanked in a prison. Yeah, sure, you have a gun, but like, in close quarters? With unhinged criminals? I don't know. Like, imagine another thing. What if the Secret Service starts shit? Because that's another possibility. Like, people in prison, right? Like, the entire environment is meant to dehumanize people. Like, it's not a family-friendly environment. So, you can have, like, a Secret Service officer that looks the wrong way at a convict, that sits in the wrong place at the wrong time, that bothers the wrong person, and then the Secret Service starts shit with someone. Even though, like, Trump didn't do anything. Right? So, like, well, like, the Secret Service can start shit with a guard. I mean, the guards, they believe they're gods, right? Like, they're like, oh, well, I'm the god. And it's not that they believe they're gods, but they have to impose respect, because otherwise the prisoners don't respect them. So, like, that is another possibility. the Secret Service starts shit with a guard. If Trump is in prison, his status will go through the roof. So I looked at the history of the United States. It turns out that there have been 4 people in U.S. history which ran from prisons. So it's not like something new. It also happened during World War I. And I believe it happened in a couple of other places. Ah, Dios mío. What if a Secret Service guy gets his gun stolen? I mean, exactly, right? Like, they have to carry the guns. And not to mention, like, you're in a crowded space. It's not like you're in the street. You're surrounded by criminals. People who are probably convicted for life and don't give a shit. Yeah, none of them were former presidents. That is correct. It is cheaper to put Trump under house arrest, but like the New York prosecutor is like, oh, no one is above the law. So like, if you wouldn't put someone else under house arrest, why would you put Trump? If Trump wins from prison, he can immediately pardon himself. Yes, absolutely. And he would have like the moral justification to do so, because literally like the people knowing that he is a prisoner vote for him regardless. Then the people kind of consent to that. I mean, it's obviously that any person that by some miracle manages to win from prison, which by the way would be a first in US history, would pardon themselves. I don't even know how they can, because I suppose like okay, so like if you win from prison, like this is another bewildering thing. How do you do the ceremony? Because like there's the entire ceremony that you know, like the new president goes to, and they have to like pass the power, which is obviously a formality. But even then, right? Like you gotta sign documents, you gotta sign shit. I guess you can sign them from prison, right? But like, you also need to use the presidential pardon, right? But like for the presidential pardon, you probably need like the presidential stamp and shit like that, which normally cannot leave the White House. Like there are there's certain protocol in which you need to do. I guess he can, I don't know, like invest the vice president to do it on his behalf. Like you could, yeah, I mean you could stay in prison as a new power move. Like that would also be interesting. So you just refuse to pardon yourself. You just want to be a president from prison. But the problem is, like, when you have to visit foreign dignitaries, like the King of Saudi Arabia comes to America to meet the president, and it's like, well, you have to go to prison. As part of his prison reform, last term, Plessy is rich, powerful, and could have the ability to pardon people if he wins again. I mean, I'm pretty sure that would be the case, right? Like, if you're lucky enough to be locked up with Donald Trump in the same cell, and you have like this heartwarming story to tell him. It's like, look, Donald, if you ever manage to win, don't forget me, Donald. Then yeah, I mean it is possible. Like I suppose I have heard it. So in Romania, we did have like rich people imprisoned. Some were even politicians. And they made friends with convicts. And once they left the prison, they actually took care of the convicts' family and shit. Now, we don't really know what happened. I mean, maybe they were intimidated. Maybe they genuinely felt affection. But it can happen, I guess, you know. Technically, the president can move his office whenever he wants. The only requirement is that he informs his cabinet. Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, but like you can't also stay in a prison because there are rules, right? Like you have to go to sleep at a certain time, you have to make count at a certain time. Like if it's a lockdown, you can't really just go to your office, right? So like even if you're the president, if you choose not to pardon yourself, well, you're still stuck in the prison. These counts are Class E felonies, so they can be demoted back to misdemeanors, but the judge on the case needs to recuse himself. He has Trump derangement syndrome, and his daughters work for Cackling Kamala. Well, it's not going to happen. I do not think that they're going to recuse themselves, number one. Number two, I understand that the statute of limitation has passed for all these counts. So he's not actually charged for the 34 counts. He's charged for using the 34 counts in order to hide a more serious crime. But the interesting part is they refuse to say which serious crime that is. So there was a question that the reporter asked the prosecutor. It's like, okay, but like, what is the more serious crime that you're indicting Trump with? And the prosecutor refused to say. However, they said that, well, legally I don't have to disclose it, which is true. But like, you would think that in such a case, you know, given the optics and the PR spectacle that's unfolding, you'd think that you would say, but no, he didn't. I guess we're going to find out. As I said on the video, it's going to be a Überraschung. It would be very easy for them to put a person in his cell who is well known for trying to stab his cellmates. Yeah, sure. But like, again, he's got Secret Service. Which, by the way, like, unironically, the Secret Service would have to be in his cell. But even then, if it's like a person that would stab his cellmates, like think about it. Would they actually stab Donald, or would they try to gain favors from him? Because like you would be in the same cell with one of the most powerful politicians, right? Like, well, at least like political figures. Isn't there a prison for influential people? Legally, no. Practically, yes. Like, usually in my country, when politicians go to prison, they go to a very nice prison. Believe it or not, Andrew Tate actually went to one of the more nicer prisons. Like, if Andrew Tate is complaining about cockroaches and stuff, it's like, well, you didn't go to Jilava, Andrew. You didn't go to Jilava. Like, there's always a downgrade. The statute would not apply if Trump pleads down to misdemeanor. I see. America has become a banana republic. Well, the president of Salvador made a very good point, right? If any other country would have done this, like if any other country would have convicted the most likely running up candidate before an election, America would not. I mean, it depends. It depends, like if it's an ally of the US or not. But internationally, it would be viewed as a banana republic, right? So, like, if Bolsonaro would have imprisoned Lalo before the election, or I mean, it's well, actually, it's happening in Russia, right? Like in Russia, it's literally the same thing. It's like, well, Russia is not a democracy because they imprison the opposition. So yeah, it would be viewed as a banana republic. Absolutely, it's not something, but it was never even done in the past. Like usually, if you want to go after someone, you go either before or after the elections, not very shortly before or after. Right? Like you either go like years before, or you wait a little bit, like at least 6 8 months after the elections are over, and then you start the investigation. It is something you do in Tropico. Yes, you can do that in a video game. What the name of the nice person where the Pitești experiment? What was the name of that nice prison? Jilava, I think. Or no, the Pitești prison. Pitești prison. Hello, Rosalhim. How's it going? JFK wasn't Banana Republic. Well, no, because like with JFK, at least they, well, recently with all the, the disclosure of what happened in the JFK assassination, not good. Not good. I think like Tucker Carlson had a video about it. Why some furries are commies? Due to the culture that surrounds people, right? So like if your fandom has a specific culture, chances are you're going to be part of that culture as well. Thank you, Thomas, for the 10 euros. I really appreciate it. Oh my god. This is why I'm making video games, right? Like just focusing on my succubi. No, I don't have to deal with this nonsense. Oh my god. I can hardly wait to sell my game. See how people react. Maybe China and Taiwan have a spat while I'm just sitting there and watching my game sell. I'll be like, you know what? The world is miserable, but at least I'm bringing some happiness. By the way, I can, all jokes aside, I can hardly wait to show you guys the demo. Maybe like 1 or 2 months, I can have like a Patreon page or something. And then people can mock and ridicule me. It's going to be a very interesting presidential election. I'll give you that. Why would some woke things go broke? Because they're very rich. Right? It's like, if you have a hole in a shopping bag. Well, if you have a hole in a shopping bag, the shopping bag is going to go empty really quick. Because everything in the shopping bag is going to fall down. But if you have a hole in a 10-kilogram sack of potatoes, it's going to take time until all the potatoes fall down. Will my game be in the F95 zone? I do not know what that is. It will be hard to play with one hand. You know what's interesting? And this I found fascinating. It actually makes me happy. So, I gave the script to some people for, like people who are associated with the production and stuff. And they told me that they never played these types of games before. And they're not interested in them. However, they really like the horror that I'm writing. Because it's not jump scare horror. It's not the type of horror that you see in Resident Evil where, it's like disturbing images or anything. It's more like existential dread type of horror, right? So it's like getting creepy vibes while reading type of horror. And I got like a lot of people invested and they say, V, I never liked these types of games, but I will like your game because of the horror aspect. I'm like, you know what? I guess like that's good. I guess that is, like, I must be doing something right. I may appeal to a demographic that isn't even interested in these types of games. Also, my game looks better than anything else on Steam in its category. Right, so it's not a visual novel. It actually has gameplay. It's actually longer than 4 hours. So, hopefully... Oh, it looks like eye candy. Like, it looks very good. You can go on my Twitter and you can see on my banner the logo. So, yeah. I think I will make Arch out of this in the manga. Like you could actually talk to Arch, because I think like your manga and his universe may be interesting for a crossover event. So that like I notice Japanese do this sometimes, but for some reason, actually Westerners do it too. But it's a really good way for independent creators to grow. Like what you need to do, and this is actually quite fun. You do a crossover event. And then people find out, like first of all, the story is interesting, right? Like if you manage to have like a coherent reason for why the universe is mixed, and you still manage to maintain the characters within their own lore. Like for example, I seen a mix with it was fan made, but it was like One Punch Man and Goku and Vegeta, right? So if they were to battle, like if One Punch Man punched Vegeta and Vegeta didn't die, then it's not One Punch Man, right? Because it's in the fucking name. So what ended up happening is that in the manga, I think like One Punch Man fought something else, and Vegeta was so impressed and scared about the power that he didn't challenge him. But it's like, well, like that makes sense, like because it was funny. It had like a comedic effect. I think like Vegeta and One Punch Man were about to fight, but then like Saitama hears that, oh well, it's Saturday, so there's like a supermarket sale or whatever. So they didn't end up fighting, and it's like, okay, that's a good crossover. Basically, like having a good crossover means that the characters maintain the rules from their own universes. You don't, just like disrespect one franchise to push another. Fans don't like that because you need to appeal to both fans. Another good example was Ninja Turtles versus Batman. So Batman fights the Shredder, and it was treated so respectfully because both Batman and the Shredder were heavily injured by the end of the fight, and then Shredder retreated. And then the next time they fought, Batman wins because the Turtles help him. But like they treated Shredder with respect, right? Like he wasn't just like some pushover villain. Like he was actually really good. And he should be like that because in his universe he's like one of the most strong martial artists. Have you seen the battle of Popeye, the Sailor Moon versus One Punch Man? I did not. But I did see Popeye versus One Punch Man. That's really great. Goku versus IA. I don't know who IA is. You have to... Saitama had punched people that didn't die on, right? Yeah, I know. But like, if you're going to do a crossover event, it doesn't have to be like that, right? So it doesn't have to be... oh, well, this guy is the exception. Unless the other person also is incredibly invulnerable, like One Punch Man versus Popeye. Like, that's really great. Technically, like, you can have, like, One Punch Man beat up Goku and Goku doesn't die. And you can explain it by the fact that no one in One Punch Man universe is as strong as Goku. So, like, now he's actually fighting someone that's as strong as him. But, like, it's not fun for the fans, right? Like, they don't expect that. No, the Arch, I meant Arc, LOL. I think I will add some more aspects of the situation that is happening to Trump. I see. But still, you should consider the one with Arch. Like, would be cool. Shredder was an awesome villain. I do think he was, yes. Like, when I was a kid, I really liked Shredder. In the 23 animated Shredder was cool. He was amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to make a good villain. Because he still needs to get beaten up, but at the same time, he needs to be cool. Roman Kenny, I want to make a word game with Arch. Well, I do think that Arch would be interested, but you'd have to stop animating like an autistic person. So for those of you who don't know, Roman Kenny worked for Blizzard, right? And is now making his own game. I think he is stuck in development hell for 2 years. The game looks absolutely gorgeous. Very beautiful. Probably will revolutionize the scene, a platformer. However, he's animating everything hand by hand in the world where Live 2D exists. And it's like, why though? Like, why are you doing this to yourself? Right? And I was telling, like, he says that it looks good. And I'm like, yeah, it looks good because you're the artist. But, like, if a studio was to hire you and to pay you to animate stuff hand by hand, like it's Walt Disney time era again, like, they would probably have to pay you $500,000 for a game that lasts maybe, like, 8 hours and sells for, I don't know, $14.99. Like, literally pixel by pixel. And I'm like, just, why do you do this to yourself? It's like, well, because I respect my customers. It's like, yeah, but, like, your customers can't even tell. Right? Like, your customers, they play Shantae, and it looks good, and then they play your game, and it looks good, but they will say that your game is short, and Shantae is long, It's like... But yeah, the journey, not the destination. But it's like, if you do that with Arch, I think he's going to lose his patience. It's like, Roman, I need my game to come out this year. Come on, Roman. What are you doing? Yeah, your customers' kids will play. Now I start to understand why Blizzard was stuck in development hell. Like, like Blizzard actually had this thing back in the day. It's not ready until it's ready, and they even refused to give up release dates. Like, I think like Warcraft 3 was announced, and then like after 4 years it came out. I may be mistaken, or was it Diablo? But it was like a huge ass why, and now I understand why. Like, if you have autistic people that draw pixel by pixel in order to cause an animation, like even people, I guess like even people during the Disney era didn't do it like that. Like even they took shortcuts. Yeah, Roman does need managers. I don't even know how you can manage someone like that. It's like, because I think like with Roman, if you give him a deadline, you just stress him out, and he's still not going to make the deadline. I don't know. Would you trade those games for 100 crap games? But it's not like that. I mean, there's games that came out on time and didn't go to the crap way. You know, like for example, Dragon Age, Baldur's Gate, most old BioWare games actually. Right, like Blizzard was nefarious for delaying shit like 4 or 5 years, but like there were other companies that made very good games without delaying 4 or 5 years. So it really depends. Physical punishment? I think it's called contractual obligations. But like, no, I know people that are perfectionists. If you give them deadlines, you just stress them out. Should I do a remake of Dragon Age? I think you're going to be like R.R. Martin. You're going to die before that thing comes out, man. Like, you know, like how many levels does your game have and how many years have you spent on it? Now imagine a game the scope of Dragon Age. Like that's what? Even if you had a team, if you were the lead developer in that team, I don't think that game will come out. Like, you know, like maybe if you train your children, and if they end up like you, maybe their children will finally finish the game. But by then we will have AI, and you can just tell the AI like what game you want to play. Like you go to the artificial intelligence and you tell it, okay, so I want to play an RPG that is in the style of Dungeons and Dragons, and it takes me all the way up until level 20. And it has like itemization, it has like these NPCs, and the AI goes like, all right, I gotcha. And it loads and it gives you the game. I wonder if we're actually going to experience that, right? Like, you actually tell an AI, like, what type of game you want, and the AI starts coding, and it just gives you, like, the game you need to play. Like, I'm pretty sure that is something that we're going to see in the future at some point. I mean, there's already AIs that do video, right? So like I seen video editing done by AI. You have like AI doing voice acting. You have AI doing like writing stuff like ChatGPT. Like ChatGPT apparently like actually composed entire novels. Novel AI did the same. So like technically, I mean the technology is there. You know, you have quantum computing or some shit. And eventually you're just going to tell the AI what you want to play and it's going to create it. Like I want to play a first person shooter like Half-Life. But I want to be Alex instead of Gordon Freeman, and I want the Deus Ex version of dialogue, right? I don't want the main character to be silent. Probably going to do that. I don't think we will live long enough to see an AI make a full game. I mean, depends how old you are, but like, dude, like technology is advancing so fast. I never thought I would actually see AI in my fucking lifetime. It is what it is. Then you realize you can never stop playing. I mean, yeah, you know, like you finish the game and then you ask the AI for an expansion pack. It's like, it is scary when you think about it. By that point, people will be Wall-E. I don't think people will be Wall-E. Like the thing with AI, like, it already happened in history, right? Like, people used to have slaves. I guess that's the difference, right? So, like, in the Roman Empire, and this is very interesting, you have like the slave class, and then you have the plebs, and then you have like the patricians. The patricians were the higher up, and they were busy with governance and stuff. But the plebs had it very difficult because they couldn't do any job because like people had slaves, right? So they were free. I mean, the jobs that the slaves were doing was not necessarily free because you still had to clothe the slaves and feed them, but like still it was a lot cheaper than hiring a pleb. So the plebeians actually needed to have bread and circus, which is pretty much like universal basic income for the time. But it's still interesting, right? Like this did happen in history in some form or another. This is why I'm aiming for an anime studio. The average time for a manga to become anime is 4 years. So 2027 is what I'm aiming for. Right. So like, I always try to connect with Japanese people, but like the language barrier is there, and then there is a cultural barrier as well. Like this actually shocked me when I first interacted with a Japanese artist, because like they will give you a picture, right? So like a Japanese person will give you a drawing. Heaven forbid you modify even a tiny thing. Like if the Uzaki-chan that the Japanese drew has like a hair accessory, if you move that from the left side to the right side, the Japanese artist literally sparks out. Like it's kind of like going to a black person and insulting their mother. Like it's kind of like that, right? Like that reaction is what the Japanese artist has. It's almost like I don't even know how to put it in words, because like I don't believe there are words in English language to describe how offended they get. And it's like so bizarre, right? And then I'm like, okay, well maybe this just happened to me. And I talk to other people, and it's no, like apparently that is a thing. Like in their culture, oh look, Roman Kenny was like that when he was younger. But like sometimes you need to do it, right? Because like what happened is that I commissioned, like I helped a VTuber get their avatar. And the VTuber goes like, well, I don't like the rigging on this. Like it was a little bit stiff on the right side. So I'm like, okay, well that's fine. You know, I know a rigger, bam, bam, bam. Oh my God. Jesus. And they noticed right away. It's like, oh. Like, I don't want to insult them. I don't even know that they would be insulted. And it's like, well, if you pay for a picture, you assume that from that point forward, you can do whatever you want with it. But no. Absolutely not. And they weren't like legally upset, you know, like not, I'm going to sue you upset. But it's like, how dare you, I will never work with you again. And like, dude. Tell them what to modify 40. Well, now I know. But like before, I didn't know. Because I was like, well, and even then, you know, like if you go to a very popular artist and they have like a backlog of 3 months waiting, and after 3 months you finally get like your ushi picture or whatever the fuck, right? Like it can happen. And you want like a small modification. You don't want to go back to the same artist and wait another 3 months. You're like, I'm not going to bother him, right? You're thinking like, okay, well, first of all, it's not a lot of money. Just do a simple edit on a doodle. It's like, what, like $50? Probably less. Like, surely he's got more important stuff to deal with. So you're going to someone else. And they freak out. Yeah, it's almost like you brought shame on their entire family. Did he give you... Oh my God, like, if a Japanese person gives you their business card, holy fucking shit. Holy shit. Like, that is danger level. That is like, when a Japanese person gives you a business card, like, you pray. You pray that you learn their customs properly. It is, like, one of the most important rituals. Like, first of all, people in the West don't even use business cards anymore. At least, like, maybe some do. I don't know. But, like, most people just whoop up their phone. It's like, here, I'm going to give you my social media contacts. Bam. Right? No. In Japan, they use business cards. And when they hand it to you, they hand it like, there's a specific way it needs to be handed. It needs to be handed with 2 hands. Okay? So you hold the business card with 2 hands to show respect. And they're handing it to you like this. Their name needs to face you. When you pick it up, you also need to pick it up with 2 hands. Right? Like, you never pick it up with 1 hand. That is disrespectful. You pick it up with 2 hands. You look at it. Like, even if you know what it says, you have to look at it. And then you open up your wallet. and you very carefully place it so it doesn't fold or crumple or anything like that. Right? No, seriously, like, you, see, this is the thing. Like, people think it's funny. It's not funny. Like, this is an important thing. It's like calling someone the N-word in Japan if you don't do it properly. Like, seriously. Like, you literally offend them if you don't. It's viewed as an extension of themselves. Like, it's viewed like all their accomplishments, who they are as a person, is on that business card. So, like, the moment you, the moment you said something that's bad, when you do a lot of commissions, you tend to create a lot of connection. I know a guy who draws for Soul Worker. Unfortunately, I do not know what Soul Worker is, but I guess it's impressive. I do not know that many Japanese artists, though. I'm going to be frank. And the language barrier is the problem. Some Japanese are very prideful. And that could be a reason they feel slighted. Well, they should be prideful. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but like they should also understand when you're dealing with a foreigner, they're not going to do all the requirements. Oh my god, like, and you gotta call them with the sama. You gotta sama them. You gotta say shiki-sama, sama. Like, okay, fine. But if I don't, it's not because I'm a mean person. It's because, like, I genuinely do not understand the politeness. God. Yeah, you can't just call a person that, so in Japan you can't just call a person by their name. All right, like only if they give you permission. So it's only for like very close friends. Japan is the original woke culture. I don't know. It's very collectivist in nature, but I wouldn't say it's woke. Right. So like for example with Roman Kenny, right? Like if I'm friendly with him, I can call him. I think like I can call him Roman Kun. But I should call him Roman Sama, right? And if I just call him Roman, that is very insulting. Like, this is another thing. Like, Japanese people don't really have that many insults in their language. Like, they can't curse like an American. For a Japanese person to be... Japanese people are very polite, and the moment they stop being polite and they just talk to you like a normal person, that's when they're offended and upset. You must consent to... Well, here's another example, right? Like, the word aishiteru. So, I'm pretty much sure that everyone knows from anime, aishiteru means I love you. But, you can't just say that to anyone. Like it's a deep level of passionate love. Like, there's couples that never say aishiteru in their entire lives. Like, married couples, they never say aishiteru. Until one of them dies. And then they're talking as in, you know, like, I really love my wife, and they're like, aishiteru, right? But it's just like one of those things, like, there's not that many parallels to our culture. So yeah, like they have like this entire philosophy of not upsetting and not offending others, which is a good way to live by the way. But like basically placing yourself last and considering about other people, right? So like don't do things that would upset others. And unless you live with that lifestyle, it's very difficult to integrate. Like, you're going to make mistakes. Yeah, Baka and Teme are the only ones you know. Yeah, I mean, they don't really have that many curse words. Weirdly enough, Germans don't. Like, there are some languages that don't have curse words. But like in their case, as I mentioned before, if they start talking to you like a normal person and stop being so overly polite, that's when you piss them off. They never heard the whole turn the other chick. Well, it's, I don't know. I mean, it depends on the Japanese person, obviously. Like, if you have a Japanese person that lived in the West, they're probably going to be a lot more tolerant, and they're going to understand that, well, you know, like, like, it's not from a mean place, basically, that the Westerner doesn't respect and doesn't follow the protocol. It can be like from a place of uneducation. And I think it's like when a Japanese person comes to the West, right? Like, they make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, you start being more tolerant to other people making mistakes, right? But when you go to when you're a Westerner and you go to Japan, then they expect you that you live by their standards. And then there's like so many bizarre things. Like for example, you're not allowed to walk on the food and walk on the street and eat food, right? Even if you're not making a mess. But like that by itself is considered rude because you may actually cause a mess and people don't like that. But anyway, right? If you leave used panties in the vending machine, oh well, that's just. Well, we'll talk about that another time because I do need to make the videos on my lack of entertainment channel. So thank you a lot for watching, and I appreciate the donations. Hopefully I did entertain you, and I'm going to see you guys tomorrow. Take care.